9 months ago, my son-in-law lost everything. His projects, his investors, his reputation, all of it gone. And to this day, he still doesn't fully understand how it happened. I do. My name is Robert, 62 years old. 1 truck, 1 storage unit, 1994. That's where everything I have started. My father worked a Ford assembly line in Ohio his entire life. Never complained once. The most valuable thing he ever gave me wasn't money. It was 4 words he said when I was 17. Watch more. Talk less. I have never forgotten them. Today, I own 4 commercial properties across 2 states and a logistics company with 31 employees. Every dollar earned from scratch. Every relationship built over 30 years of showing up the same way every single time. Now, I want you to understand something before I go further. I am not a man who raises his voice. I am not a man who threatens. I am not a man who makes moves out of emotion. I am a man who watches and waits, and when the time is exactly right, I move once. Brandon married my daughter Ashley 6 years ago. Sharp dresser, smooth talker, charming in that rehearsed way that fools everyone in the room, except the one person who isn't trying to be charmed. My wife Corinne loved him by the end of the first dinner. I shook his hand, looked him in the eye, and felt that quiet note I've learned after 62 years to never ignore. Not dislike. Just watch this one. I gave them a house I owned free and clear, paid for the entire wedding without one complaint. And Brandon took the keys, gave me a half handshake, and said, "Thanks, Bob." Bob. My wife said I was being sensitive, but I've been in business long enough to know the way a man receives something tells you everything about who he is. Brandon took that house, the way you take a napkin at a restaurant. Automatic, expected, already, thinking about the next thing. For 3 years he sat at my table and talked about power. Who had it? Who was losing it? How slow men wake up one day and realize the world already moved past them. Every single time, he glanced at me at the end of the sentence. Every time. I never reacted. Not once. Because I wasn't sitting there getting insulted. I was sitting there building a file. And by the time I was done, that file was going to cost Brandon everything he thought he had. Stay with me. The cracks started showing about 8 months before everything fell apart. Brandon stopped coming to Sunday dinners. First there were reasons, a showing, a deal, a client. Then the reasons stopped coming, and Ashley just started showing up alone, quieter each time. That particular kind of quiet that a daughter carries when she's already lost the argument at home and doesn't have the energy left to explain it. I didn't push her. I just made sure coming home felt like relief. But I started making calls. I've spent 30 years in this city. I know people in lending, development, contracting, title, work. Men who are straight with me because I have always been straight with them. I reached out carefully, asked quiet questions. Stay with me, because what came back wasn't just bad. It was the kind of bad that reframes every dinner, every glance, every smile Brandon ever gave me at that table. What I found hit me in 4 layers. Layer 1, 2 active projects, both stalled, both hemorrhaging money he didn't have. Layer 2, a general contractor threatening legal action. Lawsuit not public yet, but coming. Layer 3, his main investment partner quietly unwinding. Not officially out, but gone in every way that mattered. And then Layer 4, the one that made everything else irrelevant. Brandon had used Ashley's name to secure a $340,000 line of credit. She had signed documents she believed were routine paperwork. She had no idea what she was actually carrying, and Brandon had never once sat down and told her the truth. He had used my daughter as a financial cushion for his own sinking ambition. Not out of desperation, out of cold calculation. I sat in my office until midnight that night. No television, no phone, just silence. Real anger, the deep kind, doesn't come hot. It comes completely still, like a door closing in a room that just went cold. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to waste one single move. I was going to do what I always do. Move slow, move right, move once. Keep watching, because this is where Brandon made the mistake that ended everything. 2 weeks later, he walked into my office. First time in 6 years. Dressed sharp, relaxed. Said he had a new project, ground floor, strong upside, and he was bringing it to me first, out of respect, out of family loyalty. He used that word, respect. I let him finish the entire pitch without saying one word. Then I leaned back, and I looked at him, really looked, and I saw it with complete clarity. He wasn't here as a son-in-law. He wasn't here out of loyalty. He was here because he had run out of road, and he had finally looked up and noticed the quiet man at the head of the table was the last real asset within his reach. I smiled just slightly and said, "Let me think on it, Brandon." He left satisfied. The second that door closed, I picked up my phone, and what happened next, nobody saw coming. What I did next wasn't revenge. Revenge is loud. Revenge is sloppy. Revenge is for men who let emotion drive. I am 62 years old. I did not build what I built by letting emotion drive. What I did was clean, quiet, permanent. First, Ashley. Kitchen table. Just the two of us. I laid everything out in front of her the way I'd present a business summary. The credit line, the $340,000, the real condition of his projects, the gap between what Brandon had been telling her and what the documents actually said. She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at me and said, "Dad, I had no idea." I told her I knew. I told her none of this was her fault, and I told her she would not be left standing in a hole another man dug. Not while I was still here. Then I made 3 calls. The first 2 went to Brandon's investors, men I had worked alongside for 15 years who had already been calling me asking quiet questions about his judgment and follow-through. I answered honestly, briefly, calmly. Within 30 days, both had pulled out completely. The third call went to my attorney. 6 weeks. Real money. But Ashley's name came off that credit line, completely and cleanly. Brandon's operation collapsed the way over-leveraged things always do. No dramatic crash. Just a slow stop when the money loses faith. He called me twice. I let both go to voicemail. When he finally showed up at Ashley's house, she opened the door. He asked her whether I had something to do with his investors walking. She told him, "Men who have known her father for 20 years make their own decisions." He came to my office one final time. No performance left. No polish. Just a man sitting in the wreckage of his own choices, trying to figure out where it broke open. I asked him one question. When you put Ashley's name on that line, did you stop for even 1 second and think about what happened to her if it came apart? He didn't answer. That silence was the most honest thing he ever gave me. I stood up, told him to go home and decide what kind of man he wanted to be when nobody was watching. And that was the last conversation we ever had. Ashley is doing well. She is free. She is standing on solid ground. And I am right where I have always been. Here's what I will leave you with. The most dangerous man you will ever underestimate is the quiet one who has already decided.